Adanna had always believed her life would be simple. She taught children in the small village of Uguta, where dusty roads and wide fields stretches as far as the eyes could see. Every morning, she walked to the mud-walled school, carrying her books and a bright smile. But the day she first saw Prince Chike changed everything. It was a hot afternoon. The children were reciting their alphabets when a long convoy of cars arrived. Dust rose into the air as people came out, dressed in rich clothes. The village elders walked behind them, whispering among themselves. "Who are those people?" asked little Ebuka, peeking out of the window. Adanna frowned. "Let's stay calm. Keep reading your letters." But she too was curious. She had heard that the prince was returning from the city after many years away. They really wanted their daughter to be chosen. Moments later, the headmaster knocked gently and stepped inside. "Adanna," he said, his eyes nervous. "The prince wishes to greet the teachers." She swallowed hard, smoothed her dress, and followed him to the courtyard. Prince Chike stood tall and handsome, wearing a white kaftan with golden embroidery. His skin glowed in the sunlight. He turned when he saw her. "Good afternoon," he said in a deep voice. Adanna bent her head politely. "Good afternoon, Your Highness." Their eyes met for only a second, but something warm moved between them. The prince spoke with the elders, thanking the teachers for educating the children. He did not speak to her again that day, but as she walked home, her heart beat faster than ever before. That night, the whole village buzzed with gossip. "My daughter is fair and well-bred," boasted Mama Nkechi at the water well. "She will be the perfect queen." Adanna did not join the conversation. She was just a school teacher with no rich family. She had no plans to become the prince's wife. But fate, it seems, had its own plan. 1 week later, a messenger arrived at the door. He carried a letter sealed with the royal crest. Adanna opened it with trembling hands. "Teacher Adanna, the prince requested your presence at the palace tomorrow at noon. He wishes to speak with you privately." Her heart jumped into her throat. What could he possibly want with her? She spent the night awake, staring at the ceiling. By morning, she was sure she had imagined everything. At noon, she dressed in her best wrapper and carried her teaching bags to the palace. Guards led her through tall carved doors into a large hall where Prince Chike sat alone. He rose when she entered. "Thank you for coming," he said gently. "Please sit." She paused on the edge of the chair, clutching her bag. "I have watched you from afar," he began, "and admire how you care for the children. You are kind and honest. I need someone like you by my side." Adanna shook her head in disbelief. "Your Highness, I am only a teacher. Surely you must have many noble ladies waiting for you." He smiled softly. "Yes, many wait, but I do not wish to marry for wealth or status. I wish to marry for love and goodness." Her heart thudded painfully. "You cannot mean this." "I mean every word," he said, "but I will not force you. Think about it. Adanna, I will wait for your answer." By the time she returned home, the whole village already knew. Some women smiled at her with envy, others glared with hatred. "She bewitched him," they whispered. "What does she have that our daughters don't?" Adanna tried to ignore them, but the words sank into her skin like thorns. The following week was the longest of her life. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the prince's face. She remembered how he looked at her, not with pride or pity, but with respect. Yet doubts remained. Could a simple woman fit into a royal world? Her mother, a quiet widow, sat with her by the fire one evening. "My daughter," she said softly, "are you afraid?" Adanna nodded, tears falling her eyes. "I don't belong there." Her mother touched her hand. "You belong wherever your heart finds peace." At dawn, she made her decision. She returned to the palace and stood before the prince. "I will marry you," she said, voice shaking, "but only if you promise I will still be allowed to teach." Prince Chike's smile lifted the whole room. "You have my word." Their wedding was the grandest celebration Uguta had ever seen. Drummers played all day, women danced in colorful wrappers, children threw flowers, petals in the air, but not everyone was happy. Mama Nkechi refused to attend. She sat in her hut, fuming. "A teacher over my own daughter? She spat. She does not deserve it." Her bitterness did not stop the wedding, but it sowed seed of conflict. Living in the palace was harder than Adanna expected. Every day, new servants arrived with messages. Every evening, noble women visited, pretending to congratulate her. "You must learn to dress like royalty," one woman sniffed, eyeing Adanna's simple wrapper. "You cannot teach village children anymore," another warned. "It is shameful for a queen." But Adanna held her head high. "I will always be a teacher," she said firmly. "It is who I am." Her strength won the respect of some, but deepened the jealousy of others. The greatest test came 3 months after the wedding. One morning, as she prepared her lesson plans, a servant came running. "My queen," he panted, "the council demands you stop teaching. They said you are lowering the palace's dignity." Adanna's hand trembled as she rose. "I will speak to them myself." In the council chamber, old men sat in a row. Their faces hard. "You must choose," said the oldest, "your duty as queen or this childish job." Her voice was steady as she replied, "My duty as queen is to serve my people. Teaching is how I serve." A murmur of disapproval rose, but she did not flinch. The prince entered then, looking at her with pride. "She will continue to teach," he declared. "Any man who objects may leave this council." Silence fell. One by one, the elders lowered their heads. Despite the conflict, Adanna found moments of deep joy. Children still greeted her with bright smiles. She continued her lessons in a classroom built behind the palace. Women brought their daughters to learn, inspired by her courage. Yet Mama Nkechi's anger never softened. One afternoon, she stormed into the classroom, her eyes blazing. "You have stolen everything," she hissed. "My daughter should have been queen." Adanna met her gaze calmly. "I stole nothing." The prince made his choice. "You will regret this," Mama Nkechi swore. Turning to her heel, months passed and the rains came, turning the earth green and alive. Adanna grew stronger. She learned to walk among nobles without fear. She learned to stand up by herself. One evening, as she and the prince sat together under the tree, he took her hand. "Do you ever regret marrying me?" he said softly. She shook her head. "Never. Even with all the gossip and the hatred, I would choose you again." "And I would choose you," he said, kissing her palms. The villagers began to see her differently. Slowly, the insult faded. Mothers brought their daughters and children to learn. And even those who once envied her began to admire her. They saw how she never stopped being kind, how she never let her crown make her proud. It's time. Mama Nkechi herself came to the palace. She stood in the doorways, looking small and tired. "I was wrong," she said in a low voice. "You have done more for this village than any queen before you." Adanna walked to her and looked at her. Adanna walked to her and took her hand. "There is no shame in changing my mind." Tears filled the older woman's eyes. "Thank you." Not speak only of the wedding or the fine clothes. They spoke of her courage and how she never forgot her calling, and how she loved the children as much as she loved her husband. And in the quiet evening, when the priest sat beside her as she graded papers, he would smile and say, "You were always meant to be my queen." And she would answer, "I was always meant to be their teacher." In that simple truth, she found her greatest peace.